The first thing I noticed after moving into a nursing home wasn't a small room or the unfamiliar faces. It was a feeling that I was no longer in control of my own life. Before, I had made all the decisions for myself. From what time I woke up, what I had for breakfast, to whether I want to go for a walk or just sit in my favorite chair and read a book. Those seemingly small things were the things that made me feel like I was really living. But in a nursing home, everything was prearranged. Breakfast was at 7 a.m., even when I wasn't hungry. Lights out at 9 p.m., even when I was still thinking. Want to go for a walk? Have to ask. And sometimes have to wait for someone to be free to take me. Even what to wear that day was no longer my decision. I was no longer the master of my day. I was just following a schedule designed for the convenience of the system, not for the comfort of the individual. At first, it was frustrating, but then I started to get used to it. I no longer protested when I was given a meal. I no longer questioned having to wait my turn to go outside. I became a person who fit into the routine, but at the cost of losing my identity. I realized when you stop having the power to make small decisions every day, you are slowly losing the power to live. So, if you're thinking about moving into a nursing home, ask yourself, are you really ready to give up the seemingly small things or the strings that keep you who you are? When I turned 82, I thought I was old enough to make the right decisions. My loving family had suggested that a nursing home would be a safe, comfortable place for me to be cared for and rested. I believed them, and I believed that I was choosing the best for myself. But within weeks of moving in, I realized something important. I didn't know what I was giving up. Nursing homes aren't necessarily bad, but they aren't the paradise I thought they were. So much has changed, not just the place, but the pace of life, the autonomy, the connection to family, and most of all, the sense of still being myself. If you're considering moving into a nursing home, for yourself or a loved one, I urge you to listen to my story. This isn't to scare you or make you regret it, but to help you see the downsides that few people talk about. In this video, I share 6 painful truths that I only realized after moving into a nursing home. These are things that weren't in the brochures or mentioned in the consultations, but they have a profound impact on the quality of my life every day. If someone had told me these things before, I might have thought differently, and if you're facing a similar decision, I hope my story will help you make a better choice. When I first moved into the nursing home, everyone assured me, "Don't worry, we'll visit often." And I believed it. The first week, my daughter came. On weekends, my grandchildren came by, bringing laughter and warmth. I felt like I was still connected to life out there, still part of the family. But then, those visits became less frequent. My daughter was busy, started calling instead of coming. The grandchildren got older, had schoolwork, friends, jobs. I understood everyone's life had to go on, but I didn't expect to become a forgotten part. At first, there were the disappointments. Then there were the holidays when I sat waiting alone, staring at the door that wouldn't open. I don't blame them. Not really. I was just sad that I was gradually becoming a forgotten name on their calendar. I remember one afternoon, I sat holding the phone, about to call my son, but then I put it down. I was afraid of being a bother. I was afraid of being a burden. I was afraid to remind him that I was still here, waiting for a visit. That's when I realized sometimes loneliness doesn't come from not having people around, but from feeling like you're no longer remembered. If you're considering moving into a nursing home, be prepared that no matter how much your family loves you, their lives will go on, and you may be left behind, silently and alone. Before I entered the nursing home, my days had a purpose, even if it was something small. I woke up, made myself a cup of coffee in the morning, watered the plants on the balcony, cleaned up a bit. I also kept the habit of writing in a notebook every afternoon. No one asked me to do those things, but they helped me feel like I was still living, not just existing. When I moved into the nursing home, I thought I would have more time to rest. No more cooking, no more housework. Someone else would take care of everything. At first, that sounded like a relief. But then I realized I had nothing to do, no more plants to water, no more coffee I made myself, no more little corner called mine to arrange, care for, and be attached to. Time still passed, but it did not leave a feeling of living, just a series of days of waiting. Waiting for meals, waiting to be called, waiting for the nurse's bell. I looked around, saw old people who used to be active, now just sitting quietly looking out the window. They were like me, losing the meaning of life, little by little. I remember an old man named George, who had been a carpenter all his life. When he first came in, he used to tell stories. His hands always wanted to do something. But here, there were no tools, no work to complete. After a few months, his hands were just resting in his lap, his eyes empty. "I feel useless," he said, and I understood very clearly. Living without a purpose is drifting, and when the spirit begins to empty, the body weakens too. If you are thinking about a nursing home, ask yourself, how will you find your purpose in life again when everything that once made you feel useful is gone? Before I entered the nursing home, despite my age, I could still take care of myself. I went to the small market near my house, cooked, cleaned, and walked a few laps around the yard every morning. These little things helped my body stay flexible, alert, and healthy. But after moving to the nursing home, I no longer needed to do those things. Meals were brought to me. Want water? Just press the call button. If you need anything, the staff will help. At first, I found it convenient, but after a few weeks, I began to notice something different. My legs were stiffer. It was harder to stand up. I sat more, moved less, and then I gradually lost the strength I had tried to maintain for many years. I wasn't the only one. I saw many people who came here who were still healthy, walking normally. Within a few months, they were using walkers. Then they were moving to wheelchairs. The decline was so rapid that they didn't even know what was happening. I remember an old lady named Alice. When she first came in, she was walking every morning, loudly saying, "I'm not slowing down, don't expect it." But within a few months, she was using a walker, then a wheelchair. One day, she said with a sigh, "I don't know what happened, but I feel like I've aged 10 years. And I know that feeling. In a place where everything is designed to give you maximum rest, it's easy to forget your body needs movement to live, not just to survive. If I had known, I would have tried to stand up every day. I wouldn't have let convenience make me weak. If you or a loved one is preparing to enter a nursing home, ask yourself, will you stay motivated to stay active when no one is asking you to? Before I had my own space, a small room where I could close the door, turn on or off the lights when I wanted, read a book quietly or sit quietly without anyone bothering me. I used to think that those things were normal, but when I moved into the nursing home, I understood privacy is a privilege, not a given. From the first day I moved in, I was no longer the owner of my room. Staff came in and out to check regularly. All activities had to be announced, waiting for someone to assist. Want to go to the toilet? Have to ring the bell. Want to take a bath? Have to schedule and wait for someone to help. And if you are not quick, you will be reminded because there are others waiting. I understand that they're doing their job. I don't blame them. But the feeling of having to ask permission to do things I have done for decades is hard to describe. Plus the shared room thing. Not everyone gets their own room. I was lucky enough to have a nice roommate, but not everyone does. Many people have to live with people who talk loudly, are unhygienic, or even have cognitive problems. I once heard an elderly person cry in the middle of the night just because he couldn't sleep in a room that was his but not his. No matter how hard I tried, I couldn't make this place feel like home. And the most heartbreaking thing is, you start to get used to being called a patient. You are no longer a person with a name, interest, and personality. If you are thinking about a nursing home, really ask yourself, are you ready to give up your privacy and accept a life where you have to ask permission for every personal action? Because once you lose your dignity, it is very difficult to regain it.